My hope is that my story brings you closer to God. I want to start by saying I've worked on this for 6 months, and trying to talk about my walk with Jesus without being here all day has been a challenge, to say the least. There's a lot that got left out. I didn't include most of my walk through all of the ups and downs of pregnancy, loss, delivery, and being a mom of many, some with special needs. There's no aspect of my life that Jesus wasn't walking with me through whatever I was going through. That said, here we go. We all have struggles in our life. Even if you had a great childhood, you still had trials to work through. God is here to help you with that. I have struggled with anxiety for as long as I can remember. I have been told stories of how difficult I was as a child. I started walking at 10 months and was climbing out of my crib soon after, so that my mom had to hunt for me every morning when she got up. One time finding me in the bathtub with the water on. When I was 2, my mother worked in a large all-ages daycare center. I could not be left in the twos class as I was too much for them. My mom worked with the big kids and had me in one of those kid hiking backpacks while she worked all day. When I went to kindergarten, my teacher did not care for me. I have blocked all memories of kindergarten. The only thing I remember is knowing that my teacher didn't care for me at all. At this time, my mom was working graveyard shift at a hospital and needed to be sleeping while my brother and I were at school. And my teacher had demanded that my mom volunteer in my class at least once a week to deal with me. The kids at school found me to be an easy target. I was tiny and very easy to pick on. When I was 8.5, we moved to Citrus Heights. My mom, who had grown up a very strict Seventh-day Adventist, left that faith when she married my dad. Decided she wanted to go to church again, only not Seventh Day. She found the First Baptist Church of Citrus Heights and started taking my brother and I. Church was amazing to me. The kids were nice. I wasn't picked on. I made actual friends. I learned all about God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. I soaked it up. I loved church. When I was 9, the church had a concert with a Christian band. When they had an altar call, I went forward and accepted Christ. I went to a new believer class the church gave to make sure I really understood what I was doing when I was baptized. I was fully on board. Jesus forgiving me for being such a difficult kid, having the Holy Spirit with me at all times so I was never alone when I was being picked on. Yes, please, and thank you. I got involved with church as much as I possibly could. I was in the kids' choir and did full-on programs once or twice a year. We also did outreach. We went to Folsom Prison, and did some skits for a group of inmates. During the holidays, we went caroling through the halls of a couple of the Eschaton senior living places. We also had a puppeteer group that we traveled all around doing shows. The Sacramento Bee newspaper even did an article on our group. Then there was some kind of drama at the church, and we and several other families left. Finding another church proved difficult. While I didn't lose my faith, I did lose my faith in the church and quit going. I started doing summer community theater to keep singing and performing. I was in jazz choir in my junior high and also started an acting class through a talent agency. I was even an extra in an after-school special on TV. I took drama as an elective in 9th grade. I had a part in The Crucible. I played the 10-year-old that thought she could fly. The final assignment in that class was to do a monologue. I don't remember what monologue I had. I did have it memorized, but when I got on stage, I froze. I couldn't speak at all. I ran off stage crying into the bathroom. A girl from class followed me, asking if I had learned it. I told her I had and proceeded to recite it for her. Went back on stage and froze again. I stuttered and sputtered through the whole thing. I've had stage fright ever since. I didn't do community theater anymore and quit the acting class, leaving the talent agency. That was a great loss for me. and not good for my mental health. Having that escape helped me deal with other things in my life. I have since come to realize that that escape was in the worship that I was doing, not the singing and acting. I believe the stage fright saved me from pursuing what could have been a truly bad secular path. My stage fright now keeps me in check that what I'm doing is for God and not for attention. Nonetheless, my teenage brain did not understand that, and I spiraled downward rapidly. I'm going to switch gears here just a little. One thing my parents found particularly difficult about me is my inability to swallow pills. God has blessed me with a hypersensitive gag reflex. For whatever reason, they felt very strongly that I should be able to do that and refused to buy children's medicine for me. Christmas the year I was 9, we went to Colorado to visit family, and both my brother and I got the flu. We had a fever and body aches and just felt awful. Of course, we needed to take Tylenol, right? My brother swallows the pill, no problem. Me, well, my dad locked him and I in the bathroom and said, "We aren't leaving this room until you take the pill." He gave me a cup of water and told me to swallow the pill. I gagged and spit it back up into the cup. He had me drink it, gag, spit it out in the cup repeatedly until I had finally drank it all. When my fever went down and I felt better, my dad said, "See, it was worth taking the medicine." A few months later, in the spring, my brother and I had played in a creek not far from our house, and I got poison oak everywhere. I was covered, elbows to hands, my torso, neck, up onto my face, and one eyelid. It got infected and was oozing grossness. My doctor was concerned that I would lose my sight in the eye that had it on my eyelid. I had to put wet, warm compresses on my eye to clean the goop off my eyelashes just to open my eye. I got sent home from school for scaring the other kids. My doctor prescribed penicillin. Of course, my mom got pills. I was terrified. What was I going to do? I told my mom I was going to do what Dad had me do at Christmas. Just let me be and I'll get it done. I went into the bathroom and panicked. I tried to take the pill and just couldn't. I also couldn't force myself to keep drinking gagged and spit up water. I gave up and went to bed. The next day, I didn't show any improvement, and there had been an expectation of improvement happening quickly. Mom calls the doctor, says, "She's not improving. What do we do?" The doctor said, "Up the dose. Give twice as much for a day. Jumpstart the healing." Oh boy, I'm in trouble. I tell my mom, "Okay." Lock myself in the bathroom and start praying. Dear God, I need your help. I cannot take these pills, and I'm afraid of what my parents will do if they find out I lied about taking them. One punishment for lying had been for me to write every Bible verse about lying. Honesty is a big deal. I know you can heal me. I need you to tell my body to act like I'm taking the medicine and start healing. I need this, God. I'm begging. Please don't make me face my parents. Heal me. Amen. I pretend to take the pills and flushed them. Okay, God, I believe you will start the healing, and I will show improvement tomorrow. The next day, I was doing better. The wounds were not oozing so much. I started healing exactly as expected. That affirmation of my faith has never left me. I was so grateful. As monumental as that was to me at the time, I found out many years later that it was actually much bigger than I knew. God didn't heal me to save me from my parents' anger. God knew something no one else did, that it is dangerous for me to take penicillin. God saved me from the medicine, not my parents. When I was 18, I got sick, so I took myself to the doctor, being an adult and everything. I had strep throat. So what does the doctor prescribe? You guessed it, penicillin. So I tell the doctor I'm going to need that in liquid form, as I finally have a say and can get medicine I can actually take. Fill my prescription, take my first dose right before bed, get up in the morning, take my second dose right away, go to take a shower, and I am covered in hives. Whoa! I call the doctor. He tells me I'm allergic. Stop taking it, and writes me a new prescription. Well, bless God, thank you all over again. Can you imagine how bad it would have been if I had taken that when I had poison oak? Would the hives have even been noticed? How sick would I have gotten before they realized that I was allergic to the medicine? Switching gears back now. I have had anxiety as long as I can remember. Pretty sure I was born this way. Hence the separation issues I had at daycare. My anxiety increased greatly when I hit puberty and the loss of church. Also, me being picked on in school became full-on bullying in 7th grade. By the time I hit high school, I was starting to have panic attacks and was in full depression. My grandmother Eva, who was my most favorite person in the world, passed when I was in 8th grade. My mother did not do well with the loss either and started taking antidepressants. On Valentine's Day of 9th grade, my grandpa got married. He did not do well alone either. All of that was a lot in and of itself, but high school was not any better than junior high had been. I was so tiny that the boys thought it was comical to just pick me up and carry me around and drop me off in front of their next class, leaving me to run to my next class trying not to be tardy. The girls, on the other hand, felt I was stealing the boys' attention from them, and they were vicious in letting me know just how much I didn't deserve the boys' attention. The most common insult was how bony I was, and that I needed to eat more. Well, that just led me to be anorexic. On top of the anxiety and depression I was already dealing with, I also became suicidal. I was not about to do what they said I should. To this day, I struggle with eating right, as I'd rather just not eat. At the end of 10th grade, the school handed out papers for ROP, which was a learning program for off-campus. I jumped right on that. I looked through all the options, looking for something I thought wouldn't be too hard, and chose cosmetology. I was completely wrong about the degree of difficulty, but it was a good fit for me. I turned 16 in April of 10th grade, and Dad told me I had to get a job. So I started working at Kmart. That summer, I was going to beauty school full-time and working part-time. I had not gotten my driver's license yet, so I relied on my mom for rides. She was working doing health examinations for life insurance. She went to people's homes or their work to do the paperwork. Anyway, this meant she was running around all over the place all the time and just fitted my rides into it. When high school started back in the fall, I was going to high school part-time, beauty school part-time, and working at Kmart. That's a lot of rides. I was stressed. My mom was stressed. She was not good about being on time getting me, and that was not something my anxiety could handle. I started to have a total mental breakdown and had no clue what was happening to me. I had heard stories of my great-grandmother being institutionalized, so my teenage brain said, well, we're nuts like great-grandma, and if anyone finds out, we'll be sent to the funny farm just like she was. Somewhere at the beginning of second semester of 11th grade, I ran away from home to my friend's house. I left a note for my parents saying I couldn't handle being a burden to them anymore, that my friend's grandma could take me to all the things I needed to go to on time, and that she didn't have other things to do. My poor parents! Ouch! That was harsh, but I really was losing it. I would have panic attacks and pass out, wake up into an asthma attack, not having any understanding what was happening. My parents made me come home. Dad said I could quit my job so that I was only going to high school and beauty school. Also, I needed to get my license. That did help some. Then, just a couple months later, I met a boy. He seemed so great. He would take care of me, drive me places, as he had his own car. He went to a different high school than me, but he was also in ROP, so went to school part-time. After I got my license, my parents gave me a car to drive, so I started driving myself where I needed to go. I got real serious with the boy. I felt like he was taking care of me by making all the decisions. He took all the pressure off of me. By the time I graduated both high school and beauty school, I was engaged to my first husband. What I realized much too late was he was not a nice man. To say he was controlling would be a vast understatement. He was emotionally, verbally, and just this side of physically abusive. We had been together 3 years when we got married. We had our son just over a year later and our daughter only 10 and a half months after that. In November of 1995, when my daughter was 4 months old and my son just over 1, my mom asked me to look for a church to go with her to, that she would pick me and the kids up every Sunday. We only had one car, and my husband was very strict on when or if I could use it, but he wouldn't say that my mom couldn't pick us up. We found a great church, and the pastor was Mike Cook. We started going every Sunday. I got a break from the kids, and I started having a grown-up relationship with God. I started praying for a better marriage. Maybe we could do counseling or something. I knew divorce was not what God wanted, so I prayed for better. My husband got a job that had him use a company vehicle, so I had our car during the day while he was at work, so he couldn't stop me from using our car. In March, I started going to the ladies' Bible study on Wednesday mornings. The church was also having a Parenting God's Way class that my husband actually agreed to go to. Just when I thought my prayers for better were being answered, in April, my husband said he was leaving. God saved me by giving my ex the whatever he needed to leave. Abusers don't just up and leave. It took me a while to thank God for that, as at the time it happened, I was devastated, scared, and pissed off. God was there for all of it. I struggled with getting divorced, thinking I was going against God, so I scoured the Bible looking for relief, which I found in 1 Corinthians 7. Paul is talking about marriages. Verses 15 and 16 say, "But if the unbeliever leaves, let him do so. A believing man or woman is not bound in such circumstances. God has called us to live in peace. How do you know, wife, whether you will save your husband? Or how do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife?" That gave me such peace because that was the reality. I had no control over him leaving, and it was okay with God for me to let him go. I could move forward without guilt or shame. During this time, my mom had started going to Celebrate Recovery for her issues and was sharing things she was learning with me. I learned about anxiety and panic attacks, figured out I wasn't, in fact, nuts, learned some tools to deal with the anxiety while also learning to stand on my own 2 feet, be a single mom supporting myself and 2 babies. At 23 years old, I was a single mom on welfare, working part-time doing hair. I hadn't been to a dentist since I got my braces off, and some of my fillings were coming out. I have severe dental anxiety due to that amazing gag reflex. Dentists were not kind to me at all as a child. My first memory of a dentist is when I was 5. The dentist got right in my face and yelled at me to be quiet and be still, like I could control the reflex. I also have genetics against me. No matter how well I took care of my teeth, They would still break down. Anyway, I needed some fillings replaced, so I went to this dentist that took Dentacal. It was just like being a little kid again. They weren't kind at all and told me I'd lose all my teeth before I was 30. When I was 26, I married my husband, Derek, of now 26 years. He was God's gift to me 100%. He has been very good to me through all my teeth issues. Through the years, I have had infections that were the most painful thing I had ever experienced, including all natural childbirth. We have 4 daughters together, so 6 children altogether. Seems every couple years I needed to have a couple teeth pulled, starting at age 30. I showed that mean dentist I lost the last of my teeth a few months before my 50th birthday. In reality, that dentist wasn't wrong. I should have lost my teeth sometime in my 30s, just as my grandmother Eva did, even though she was a dental hygienist. Genetics are more powerful than good oral hygiene. Losing my teeth was a long process. My insurance has a $1,600 cap per year. That does not cover much. That is why I made it to almost 50 before the last of my teeth got pulled. That is also where my latest journey with God started. To backtrack just a little, I was down to 6 teeth. I had the 4 front bottom teeth that were barely holding together, and I had 1 molar on each side on the top. They were doing better than the 4 little teeth, but really weren't worth much either. I had been researching dental implants since I thought there's no way I can do dentures. I had tried using a partial. I could barely wear it for short periods of time and could not eat with it, making it purely decorative. Plus, the more I tried to wear it, the more I gagged on it, which is the opposite of what was supposed to happen. Wearing it was supposed to make it easier to wear, that I get used to it. That didn't happen. Eventually, I had to stop trying. I just couldn't wear it at all. Implants are outrageously expensive. I looked into the so-called affordable offices. I also looked into going to Mexico, even going as far as having a video consultation. All avenues were priced way out of my realm of possibilities. In October of 2022, at a worship team gathering, we had pizza, and one of the 4 teeth broke. That was a bit heartbreaking to me because I knew all 4 would have to go. I was able to get into the oral surgeon before the end of the year so I could use that year's benefits for the extraction. Then I made the appointment to have the 2 remaining molars extracted in January when my insurance rebooted. One Sunday, I think it was a week or so before my appointment for the molars, I was talking to my friend Lori about the last of my teeth coming out. She asked me what the plan was for to getting me teeth because I'm awfully young to spend the rest of my life without teeth. I was like, I can't afford it. I've looked into all the things. There's just no way. I even looked into dental schools, but implants are a specialty, not general dentistry. She asked if I tried getting a grant. What? Mouth drop. Are you kidding? They have grants for this? Yes, Google it. All right. So I go home and do just that. I actually found a few sites that offered grants. I went to the first one to apply. On the application, it had a strong warning about not applying for multiple grants, that if you applied for more than one, you would be denied outright. For all, so only apply once, period. So I fill out the application, send it off, close out the tab, my Google search. I didn't think any more about it. The day I had the 2 molars removed, I was home, recovering, sleeping off the sedation. My phone rings. It's the grant people saying I qualify, and if I want it, I have to make an appointment with their dentist right now. And if I don't make the appointment, I don't get the grant. Wow. Okay. Where's the dentist? In LA. Are you kidding me? All right. I don't want to miss this opportunity, so make the appointment. Then call my brother who lives in SoCal, asking him to help me figure out how to go about going to this appointment. He jumps on board, getting his girlfriend to help me get a plane ticket, saying she'll pick me up from the airport and take me to the appointment. Everything moved very fast. The appointment was within a week. At the same time, Derek had a surgical procedure coming up that was going to have him out of commission for a bit of time. So I go to the appointment. They assess my situation, come up with a plan, and how much it will cost. It will cost a lot, but actually less than I had been quoted by others, including Mexico. But this plan includes a special horseshoe type denture for the top to not set off the reflex, as the top jaw would require extensive work to prep for posts to have implants. As it is, the bottom jaw would need a bone graft across the entire jaw and would still only be 2 posts to support an implant. Implants, as a rule, require 4 or 6 posts. So already I'm short before we start. But there just isn't enough strong bone in my jaw to support more than 2 in the front. They send the proposal to the grant committee for review. Within 10 to 15 minutes, the grant is approved for about 45% of the cost. Amazing, but still, that leaves a lot for me to pay, plus traveling costs. I don't know. The plan was to take not more than 6 months, and I'd need to come about once a month. They had me apply for loans right there, which I was surprised that I actually got approved, not for the full amount, but they said if I said yes to 2 loans at the same time to cover the full amount, I'd get approved for both, because the one wouldn't show up yet since they'd both be going through at the same time. So I called Derek to get his opinion on this, and he said, go for it. So I did. Both loans got approved at the same time. Next, make the appointment for the surgery to have the full graft of my lower jaw and set the 2 posts. They wanted me to come back in just a few days. I said, but my husband is having surgery next week. To which they replied, all the more reason to get you in before that. So again, my brother's girlfriend helped me with booking the flight and doing all the driving and letting me stay with them overnight after the surgery. That was a lot to take in. Wow, only a few months, I'll have teeth. I'll be able to eat like a grown-up rather than a toddler. I'll be able to smile again. You can't really smile without teeth. I felt I looked ridiculous. I had bad dreams of my face looking like those black and white photos of people in the Appalachians without teeth and their lips are curled into their mouth all wrinkled up. Honestly, during the whole masking thing of COVID, I let myself be photographed more than I had in a long time because of the mask. I had worked through being self-conscious in person. I realized that people didn't realize I didn't have teeth if I didn't point it out. For a while after I lost the top front teeth, I put my hand over my mouth when I spoke and when I ate. That just draw attention to what I didn't want noticed. When I stopped doing that, people didn't notice anymore. I became more comfortable and started talking about it. I realized there wasn't shame in it. It was genetic. I didn't cause it. And if I was okay with it, others were too. But in photos, I struggle with finding a facial expression that I feel looks okay. When I see photos of myself, I rarely like them. Anyway, I got excited. I miss nuts and salad. I miss being able to bite into food. Sandwiches, burgers, hot dogs, all those things I have to pull apart or cut because I can't bite. So I had the surgery. I thought I had been through pain before, but oh, mommy, bone grafts are no joke. I thought I knew how to handle pain, as the last time I remember my parents giving me child pain reliever, I was in first grade and had fractured my left arm. See, I am a bit of a klutz, so I developed a very high pain tolerance through the years. At 6, I fractured my left arm. At 8, I broke both bones in my right arm, just above my wrist. When I was 10, I cut my hand very badly. I have a lovely scar on my palm. At 12, I face planted on cement, busted my nose, had 2 black eyes, and a fat lip. Boy, did I look pretty. At 13, there were houses that were being built across the street from my house, and they didn't fence up the construction site. There were these huge cement sewer pipes just sitting out there waiting for dumb kids to play on them. So we walked on them like log rollers in water. Of course, I fell forward so that it rolled on my foot, squishing it and trapping me. I didn't break any bones in my foot, but did bruise the largest bone in my foot. It was just as painful as a broken bone and took much longer to heal. At 14, I strained my knee. At 16, I broke my ankle. And then a few months later, while working at Kmart, I strained my lower back moving boxes in the storage room. I also got braces when I was 16. Through all of these injuries, I didn't take any pain medicine. As an adult, I have dealt with a lot of pain, and after 20 plus years of tests, a doctor finally diagnosed fibromyalgia. All that to say, I really thought I knew how to deal with pain. I had no idea. I went through so much liquid pain medication, which is not cheap. You don't realize that, as kids only use a little bit at a time. I was going through it like water. It takes months of healing. That's what takes the longest time. That's why it was supposed to take 6 months. 4 months of that is just healing. While I was healing, they had me come several times for molds, measurements, fittings with wax teeth. There were a lot of traveling expenses, and I didn't want to always have Jennifer, my brother's girlfriend, do all the driving. Plus, I didn't want to keep making overnight trips. So I learned there was a closer airport to my dentist. I could fly in, Uber to the dentist, and Uber back to the airport and go home on the same day. Uber was kind of terrifying to me. I mean, I grew up where you did not get into a stranger's car. Are you kidding? But hey, I may have been 50, but I could still learn new things. Honestly, I didn't really know what to expect when I went to my appointments. I just didn't really fully understand the whole process of molds, wax teeth, fittings, and adjustments. So when I went back in May, I didn't know what to expect. They had said they'd open my gums at the post to put a cap on the post. Then I'd come the next day to do a mold on the post caps to make the clasp for the teeth. This trip, I needed to stay with my brother again since I needed to be seen 2 days in a row. I flew in, Ubered to the dentist. My brother was going to meet me there on his motorcycle to pick me up. I went in, and the surgeon opened up the first post. Looks good. Opened the second post. It wasn't good. It hadn't set. The surgeon said, I have to take this post out and do another bone graft. Then we'll let that heal, have you come back to set the post again. Whoa, wait, what? I was not prepared for failure. I was not prepared for another bone graft without sedation. Oh boy, my anxiety hit full force. All I could do was nod at whatever he was saying while quietly freaking all the way out on the inside. I was praying Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I will be okay. God is with me. But I had tears running down my face. I was shaking all the way to my toes. It was simply awful. I was devastated completely. When my brother got there, I explained as best I could, then stuck the helmet on my head. Thankfully, my face was still numb for the ride to his house. So much for having teeth within 6 months. Waited the 4 months for the graft to heal. Went back to have the post set again. Waited another 3 to 4 months for that to heal. Went back to have the post capped again. And again, the post had failed. Needed removed. Here we go again. Another bone graft. Another 4 months of healing. Another post being set. This time they did x-rays to help position the post in the strongest part to help ensure it actually sets. Another few months of healing, go back to have cats put on, and praise God, the post had set. I had started asking for prayer at Bible study that I really needed this to work. I could not handle any more pain. I was taking way too much ibuprofen. I was actually scaring myself, thanking God that at that point that I didn't have access to stronger painkillers. So I got the caps on this time. They wanted my gums to heal around the caps before getting the mold. So a few more weeks of healing before the next appointment. At this point, I was almost exactly 2 years from when I was first seen. I had started saying this was my 3-hour tour for getting teeth, and that eventually I would get rescued from this island. Doing the molds this time wasn't quite as bad as the first time. They had the wax teeth from before and put the molding goo in them to set my mold of my gums now. It was still torture. I was gagging, trying my very best to not gag, breathing through my nose, lifting my feet, wiggling them. Got the top mold done. Bottom wasn't good, so I had to do that one again. Had success with the second try. Those molds are being sent to the lab to make my actual teeth. While I wait, I am praying that when I get them, they are comfortable. The bottom teeth will snap onto the post. I pray that they don't rub on my gums in a way that causes a sore spot. The upper teeth will be a denture, so I'm concerned, but I was also able to have the wax teeth in without the goo, without gagging, so hoping that's a good sign. Clearly, I still have a lot of anxiety concerning me and teeth. So I'm doing a lot of praying and leaning on Jesus for peace and strength. After getting the teeth, I found that I started a whole new battle with teeth. I like the snap-in bottom teeth for the most part. They are easy to wear. I can wear the top denture, thankfully. Eating is still not easy. These are not real teeth, and they do not act like real teeth. The top denture only sticks well on one side, no matter what adhesive I use, so one side pops off when I chew. I have to chew very slowly and carefully. Some foods I have not been able to eat, I can now, and other food I have to take the top teeth out to eat. The bottom teeth do push down in the back when chewing. That is not comfortable. And food gets under them. I have to pop them out after eating every time and rinse them off and rinse my mouth out. I also have to go every 6 months to the dentist and have them cleaned by the dentist and have new O-rings put on the post so that they keep snapping into the teeth. So out of the few hopes I had for getting teeth, I still can't eat nuts or bite into food. Salad is possible, but difficult and not really worth the effort. Everyone says my smile is beautiful now. That's very nice of them. I don't recognize myself. Honestly, I'm not sure yet if I'm better off with the teeth. Maybe so. I'm grateful for them, though, as I'm able to eat more things than I was before, and that my walk with God has become stronger through this. Now, to wrap this up, At the beginning of this year, Pastor Ben focused on prayer. At one Bible study, we had talked about praying with persistence. At that study, I talked about praying through one of my pregnancies, that I had prayed with persistence about that pregnancy and delivery. I didn't just pray once at the beginning. I kept praying all the way through until the delivery. God answered those prayers in an unexpected and difficult way. I have learned through all this teeth business to also pray for discernment, to know and accept if the answer is no. I believe that sometimes when God says no and we don't accept it, if it isn't something that goes against him, he will give us what we want and walk with us down that hard path we chose. I believe that is what happened here. In all my searching through all the years as I was slowly losing my teeth, I kept finding that getting new teeth was not something I would be able to do. I had accepted that although I was concerned about how that would work, how I would eat with 0 teeth, how I would look, etc., but I figured it would work out because new teeth was not happening. Then I allowed, I guess it would be peer pressure, to keep seeking a way to get new teeth. So God relented and opened that path for me, already knowing how hard a path it would be. So here I am now with a stronger relationship with God and new teeth. I can't say that I was strong through the whole process. I wasn't. When I was in so much pain, I was crying out to God to make it stop and wishing that I had just accepted not having teeth. If you take only one thing away from this, please take this. God will take care of you always. Whether he's saying yes to a scared little girl in her bathroom because he knows better than her that she needs healing, or the no to that same girl as a teen that was given to pursuing an acting career, then another no to her as a young woman to saving her marriage because it wasn't the best thing for her, to the present saying, all right, fine, to the grown woman asking for teeth. In conclusion, I guess be careful what you pray for and make sure you are open to whatever the answer is and not just what you want the answer to be. But no matter what, God will be with you through whatever you are going through.